And what have I been telling you really most of the summer? I thought when most of the polls came out, Utah would be somewhere between about 12 and 16. And that's exactly where they were placed in the AP poll. I happen to think they're a little bit better than that. I do. But the national perception is what it is. The North has a little bit more love right now. Washington and Oregon is the trendy pick. But I thought when it was all said and done, Utah would probably end up in that 12 to 16 range. And the AP poll is one of the polls. Again, it doesn't mean anything. Polls are kind of meaningless now. They're fun. They're fun for guys like me. They're fun for you guys, the fans. But the polls have no bearing whatsoever on bowls and on playoff and things like that. And especially when you're in a Power 5 conference as Utah is. So they're really just enjoy these for what they are. Don't get too worked up about them. And you really shouldn't, if you're a Utah fan especially, get overly worked up over where they're at. Utah came in at number 14 in the preseason AP poll, which is, again, right that neighborhood where I thought they would be, coming off their Pac-12 South championship season. But remember, too, they finished with back-to-back losses last year, and that sticks in some people's minds. The number 1 team was Clemson. The number 2 team was Alabama. The number 3 team was Georgia. The number 4 team was Oklahoma. And the number 5 team was Ohio State. Hard to argue with those teams, really and truly. Clemson are national champions. They bringing most everybody back. They beat Bama. Bama's 2. Georgia right now, in most years, would be considered and they are a powerhouse program right now. Kirby Smart's done a great job with them, but in most years, they'd be the class of the SEC. It just so happens they're playing at a time when Alabama is still really, really good. So Clemson, Bama, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Ohio State are your top 5 teams in the preseason AP Top 25. Oregon led the Pac-12. They came in. There were 5 Pac-12 teams. They tweeted out mistakenly 4. I'm just terrible sometimes at math. I'm great with numbers, but I'm terrible at math, which seems weird to say. But that's really how it is. I retain a lot of numbers. I just miscounted. Anyway, Oregon at number 11, the highest ranked in the AP preseason top 25 Pac-12 team. They come in at number 11. Washington comes in at number 13. Utah comes in at number 14. Then you've got Washington State at number 23 and Stanford at number 25. And I think that's fair. I really do. I think those teams are good. I think Washington State could be really good. I think Stanford's biggest problem is their schedule. They have such, outside of USC, they've got the toughest schedule in the Pac-12 conference. But they're good. And KJ Costello's really good. So those are your 5 teams in the preseason AP Top 25. And again, it's about where I thought Utah would end up. I thought they'd be 12 to 16. They're right there in the middle of it. They're at number 14. And I'll give you my Sweet 16. I'll tell you where, if I had a ballot, where I would put the University of Utah. And I will give you my Sweet 16, 1 through, I didn't do a full top 25, but I did do a top 16. And we'll do that every week. I think we'll do that every week here on the program. I think I'll give you my Sweet 16 of college football teams every single week. And we'll see how the Pac-12 moves up and down. We'll see if Utah or State or BYU become good enough to crack that. I don't think they will this year. The Athletic, by the way, did their preseason 130. They ranked all teams 1 to 130. BYU was, I have to think about it for just a minute. They were in that 50, 55-ish range, 57, 58 range. Utah State was a little further down. I think they were like 64 or 65. So at least nationally, this year, BYU's getting a little bit more love than the Aggies. I don't think that's necessarily right. I think Gary's team's probably a little bit better than BYU, but again, some of that it's branding. BYU's got a little bit more of a brand name, and they finished the season well last year, and they bring back a quarterback and stuff like that, all that stuff that if you don't follow teams closely, those are things that you look at and you say, okay, they've got a quarterback back, and they finished strong. Yeah, we'll give them a good mark. I do think Utah State's probably just a little bit better than BYU is, but they'll get a chance to prove it on the field in October.